Hello and welcome. This is Midweek Madness. I don't know why I said that. I should drink my coffee at least an hour before the show. Shouldn't drink it while it's happening. Hello and welcome. This is Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. With me, my calmer brothers, Dinesh Karthik and Harsha Bhogle. Hello.
I know why you said it.
Good evening.
I know why you said what you did.
Why?
Because just before we were coming, we saw Danny Morrison doing the pitch report. And you suddenly thought, oh, I've got to unleash the inner Danny in me.
That's what happens with, I think with Danny especially, right? You talk to Danny for 2 minutes and you just feel like you're alive, right?
Yeah, but I've tried to listen to Sonu Nigam, Shankar Mahadevan before doing something. It makes no difference to my...
क्या बात करें सर कुछ सुनाइए तो कुछ तो सुनाइए
Me, the calmer Dinesh Karthik.
कुछ तो छोटा
the calmer Dinesh Karthik.
maybe no चलिए कोई बात नहीं I promise you today before the show ends Mr. Bhogle will sing us at least 2 lines of some song and I can guarantee you that it will perhaps be one of the latest hits from the 1940s. May just be the last pre-independence hit that we had. I think it's, that's what we're going to do. But today...
I'll tell you something very interesting about that later. First,
no, but tell us now. Sir, this is, you know this show. This show is like,
you keep making fun of me saying I sing all those Saigal type songs and all. There's a new movie 2-3 years ago where this outstanding music composer called Sneha Khanwalkar has created exact Saigal style songs.
That's amazing.
Then what?
So, but what a coincidence, because both of you are fans of Saigal. You are a fan of KL Saigal. Dinesh is a fan of Baba Saigal. And he's going to also rap a Baba Saigal. Yeah, big fan.
You are?
Yeah. Massive.
Massive fan.
I just knew it a few minutes ago, but I am.
But today, both the teams will have to be like Thanda Pani. That's right. They're going to have to play it cool because this is a decider. In the 3-match series, New Zealand and India are 1-1. And today, the action has moved to Ahmedabad because... that's where all the action is, man. And today, in front of, 120,000 people? That's a big ground, right?
It is a massive ground. When you just get to the ground, you can feel it. But interestingly, there are some close grounds like Bangalore, Bombay. You feel the crowd is more noisier. In this, it's slightly an open ground. I think the noise gets dissipated to a point where even though there's 100,000 yelling in your ear, it's not as loud as it. But you can, when you look around the ground, you realize, man, it's quite an atmosphere.
The new Wankhede is like that. The new Wankhede they made for the 2011 World Cup. They had to change it, but there was no space on the sides.
Yeah.
Because there's houses there.
Yeah.
It's in the middle of a housing complex, literally.
Correct.
So the only way they could increase capacity was to go up.
Yeah.
So it's become like that, the Wankhede. And that's why you think that the spectator is literally watching over you like that.
Yeah.
So you can hear almost everything. It's one of the...
It's like the bull ring, right?
It's really like that.
Like that as well.
But the bull ring in Johannesburg is about 25 times bigger. But
yeah, that is true. But I have to tell you, digressing a bit, but when you go to Wankhede and you actually go into the stands and you go up, it's a little scary, by the way. It's not for the faint-hearted.
For sure.
Especially the nosebleed seats right at the top. Those aren't. So, and to think that it's always packed, well, really, hats off to all those fans. Well, it's going to be packed today as well. But before we go to what is going to happen in Ahmedabad, we have to talk about life is a pitch. That's right, it is. Because we have to talk about the 2 pitches in the 2 games so far. There's been a lot of talk. In fact, even the Indian captain, Hardik Pandya, was very strict. He did Kadi Ninda, right? As they say.
Kadi Ninda.
Kadi Ninda, hashtag Kadi Ninda of the script. And he said, to be honest, it was a shocker of a wicket. And both the games we played on so far. I don't mind difficult wickets. I'm all up for that. But these 2 wickets are not made for T20. Somewhere down the line, the curators of the ground should make sure they prepare the pitches earlier. That's what the Indian captain said, and I think we...
No, the interesting line is at the end. They should prepare the pitches earlier.
Yeah.
But I think he had prepared the pitch earlier. I think he was told to change the pitch, so he didn't have enough time. Look, people get things wrong, okay? We don't know the whole story behind what happened in the pitch, who asked him to change it, was it a used track, did he not have in winter? Yeah. It's not easy to prepare tracks as quickly. I don't know the backstory, so I won't lay the blame anywhere.
Yeah.
But you know, people are human, they make mistakes, yeah.
But the blame has been laid.
Yeah, I mean, they've
sacked him. He has been laid off.
If people started sacking anchors for making mistakes, I would have
worked for 3 days in my life.
And that would have been fantastic. I would have joined you and said, well done, I managed 1, which is the sum total of all the movies I've been in.
I have, in fact, you guys don't even know because I'm so good at covering things up, a bit like a serial killer. I shouldn't have said that. That's not admissible.
Straight away, you'd have lost your job.
Yeah, that's not admissible in a court of law, I want to tell people. But I am making a mistake as we speak because the director did tell me who's won the toss and what they're doing. But I've forgotten. But hey, you know what? We have the Cricbuzz app, and it says India has won the toss and opted to bat. Cover
Wow.
up the mistakes with Cricbuzz. That's a new hashtag.
Interesting. Now you speak about mistakes because in the pitch report, Danny and Ajit both said it's an obvious wicket where you would want to bowl first.
Yeah.
And India have chosen the latter. So it's very interesting. Again, one line that Hardik said comes to my mind. He said that he wants to play it hard in these bilaterals, take the tougher calls and do the tougher things.
Yeah.
And hence, maybe that forced them to go down this route where they don't mind batting first and try and post a total, which will be challenging. But at the same time, if the conditions are hard, bowl in those conditions and try and stop those runs. So when something like this happens where they choose a decision against the general grain of what's been happening, you tend to get the feeling that Indian team is willing to make it harder than what it is for themselves,
There's
which is
something
good.
interesting in the numbers as well, which is it seems to be a chasing ground. But if you score above 180, I mean, India batted first and made 220 in Ahmedabad.
Against
So if you bat first and put on a huge score, then people are winning matches. 180 plus, you're winning matches.
Yeah.
So maybe he's saying, okay, we'll bat first. And I think this will be a belter. Forget what the pitch report is. After what happened in Lucknow, this has to be a belter.
I feel like this is, I don't think this will be a 200 wicket. I think it'll be a 300 wicket to compensate for the lack of runs in the previous two games. Well, let's have a look at what the teams have done, what team news we have. Of course, Mitchell Santner, the New Zealand captain, said at the toss that I would have liked to bowl first, so the whole exercise was a waste of time. But anyway, there's one change that has happened. Yuzi Chahal, after bowling 2 amazing overs in the power play, has made way for Umran Malik. So again, this is a horses for courses decision. I guess they've decided that they don't want to go in with so many spinners. So that's one. Umran comes in back to the team. And in fact, this brings me to what Dinesh, you had mentioned in the previous game when Umran was not in the squad. And you had said, I hope this is not like a form choice, but it is a horses for courses choice. I guess today that just proves that hypothesis.
Yes, absolutely. I think you have to say that right now the Indian team is in a place where they have a plethora of medium pacers to choose from. Yeah. We'll be looking at the rise of New India very soon, where we talk about that in detail.
Nice.
But I do feel that Umran Malik is a very, very interesting choice that has come up for India in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Sheerly because of pace, just the kind of value he provides to the spectators in terms of what he can provide. Whether he has a good day or a bad day, we don't get it very often as an Indian to watch another Indian pacer bowl at 150, 152, and that has been the beauty of him playing these matches so far. I think he's been a terrific find, and most importantly, coming from a state like Jammu, I think interestingly, you go and speak to the scouts of IPL and they say they find a lot of talented players coming from up north, especially in Jammu, and that is a great sign for Team India.
Harsha, I want to talk to you about the other selection, which is quite interesting because we were worried about that. I think his hand has played a hand in him not playing more hands for India, Washington Sundar. And again, when something happened to his hand in the previous game, I was like, no, not again.
I mean, he's such a good young kid.
Yeah.
That you really wish he stays fit long enough to be able to contribute. But I mean, yeah, he did get an injury, but he came out and batted well enough.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that worrisome. And as we said last time,
So good.
Yeah, I mean, as we said last time, I think the batter in Washington Sundar is starting to make his presence felt. Earlier, if you saw when he was at RCB, for example, when DK was at KKR, so before you quickly say RCB and him.
Yeah.
When he was at RCB, he would sometimes come into bat at 7, but he was never that enforcer at 7. That game hadn't arrived into his repertoire yet. It has now.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in New Zealand, you saw that couple of innings in New Zealand. That has come now.
Yeah.
So now you can actually play him at 7. Now, as I said, sometime he can look Akshar in the eye and say, okay, if not you, then me.
Yeah.
Because I will provide what you're providing. And the reason I said Akshar is because Akshar has batted magnificently at 7.
Yeah.
He's done everything that's been asked of him. But he's now saying, okay, Akshar, you want to get married? Doesn't matter. I can play all the roles that you're playing.
Yeah.
Which you couldn't say earlier.
Yeah.
So.
That's right. Akshar got married, but Washi is having a honeymoon period. Come on, look at it.
You're on probation, you just got confirmed.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. But here's somebody who knows a lot about Washington Sundar. People have got surprised by Sundar and his power hitting. Shouldn't be, because in domestic we've seen he's a proper bat. But this power hitting bit that we're seeing, has this been a recent development or was it just always there and people had just not seen enough of it?
It's something that he's recently worked on. What he did have when he was young was a proper technique. Like he used to open in First Division League in Chennai, and people saw him more as a batter who could bowl. But then his bowling was so good because he was tall and he was able to get that extra bounce. And most importantly, I love the point that Harsha uses. He enjoys bowling in the power play. Not many spinners around the world will say that. To a point where sometimes you can think that he's a better bowler in the power play than outside of it. Very interesting that. But over the years, he's really become good at his off-spin skills. But you always knew, whoever, all his peers knew that he had some real skill in batting. And there was this one TNPL which he set ablaze. He got a 50 of 18 balls once, a 70 of 35 balls. He batted really well. He literally took it to the final for us just sheerly with his batting. So the skills were always there. But these were all at the top of the order. Now he realized when he came to the IPL standpoint, people were using him at 7 and 8. And that's where I think, what sets him apart from a lot of other cricketers is clever. He realized that the one thing he needs to work on is his batting. When I say batting, power hitting. And I think the good thing that happened through his injuries was he went to NCA a lot. And at NCA, the good thing is the system is set in such a way that there's always a batting coach around. And I think he took a liking to Apurva Desai, worked on his power hitting there, and he's gotten better at it. He still has some way to go, but he's definitely gotten better at it in the last couple of years. And that's sheerly, you can see the amount of work he's put in towards power hitting. But that's something he was always obsessed with. Even when I spent time with him in England, the only thing that he said, even though he was playing test matches there, he was part of the team, and Ravi Shastri loved him to bits and, he really wanted him to play, but he had the injury, poor guy. The one thing he wanted to work with me was power hitting. He said, Dinesh, let's go. Power hitting practice. Let's go and practice some power hitting. So we went to Lords, we hired the indoor and we practiced. So he was very keen on it. Yeah. But what that tells me is he knew what he needed as a batsman to succeed in white ball cricket, and that I enjoyed a lot about.
Actually, it's interesting. He says he was a proper batter.
Yeah.
If you go back to that Brisbane Test match, and I hope I remember right because it's there in my mind, a lot of people remember that shot that he played, right? Yeah. I think early on, wasn't there a covered off drive that he played? I hope I'm right.
Pat Cummins, I think.
I think he played an off drive. Yeah. And you said, this is not a hitter hitting that shot. This is a batsman playing that shot.
Yeah.
And that is when you realize, nah, man, this kid is, if you can play that shot. Yeah. So actually, though everyone talks about that, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Which just says that his grounding was in proper cricket, and now he is building on that foundation to try and become a power hitter.
That's what happens, right? Sometimes in front of the dessert, you forget the bread and butter. But when your bread and butter is so solid, that's the thing that's going to sustain you longer, isn't it? And his bread and butter shots there as well, being an opening batter and converting that, I think. So he's added another string to his bow.
The next thing, sorry to interrupt you. The next thing I would like to see him do is say, okay, how long does Ashwin have?
Yeah.
Ashwin has, if he keeps his fitness, he really bowls well, and you want Ashwin to play long because I enjoy watching him bowl. Say 2 years, 3 years. Say when Ashwin finishes, I should be the next off spinner for India playing in Test cricket. Can I now take my bowling also there so that when the next off spinner is required in Test cricket, I will be there because by then I'll also be good enough to bat at 6-7 if required.
Yeah.
So I could become the right-handed Jadeja.
Yeah.
Can I if I was his, can you tell him? I was going to say, if I was his, then I had DKs here. I think that should be his next
If you were
objective.
his big brother, mentor?
No, big brother is he's too young.
Friend?
But no, I was his friend. Now tell him, now make that your next objective.
Okay. Advisor, but, I'll just, sorry to chip in on this. Yeah. His father has been a big factor in his cricket so far. And he always trained him to be a batter. His father was a batter as well. And Sundar always constantly tried to get him to be the best batter, but he eventually went on to become a terrific bowler. Even today, when he goes back to Chennai, he works a lot on his batting with his dad. Even today.
Yeah. It happens, no? It's the dreams of father fulfilled by son.
Imagine what dreams your father must have had for you.
He had a lot of dreams. He just hoped that I could. No, but I became it rhymes. You can get it. No, but I'm just saying that sometimes, what?
No, nothing.
Tanker.
Sometimes.
I'm a tanker.
Yeah,
you
sometimes.
can rely on me. I don't know what you guys are thinking. But I'm just saying my father just hoped that I would reach a stage where I could just read and write. That's not happened, but it's okay. I'm doing other things. So what I'll do right now, prove to you how much I've improved. I'll show you the New Zealand team and I'll read out all the names. Help me, huh? Just help me. Finalen.
So Ben Lister has basically come in for Jacob Duffy.
Yeah. Sir, you didn't let me reach till there only.
No, because I thought the game might start and you might still
Conway, Chapman, Mitchell, Glenn Phillips, Michael Bracewell, Mitchell Santner, Ish Sodhi, new player coming in, making his debut, is Ben Lister, which actually translates to Sister Lister, if you think about it. Sister Lister, Lockie Ferguson, and Blair Tickner. So there you go. Lister, please. So they've made that one change. But otherwise, this team, DK, looks, it's looking settled. Again, options for this team. So, I mean, it's a really good T20 team.
It's a solid team. I think they've, in these alien conditions, in the sense, especially with what the pitches have provided in the last 2 games, they've done really well. They've pushed India. And that's what you want to expect from visiting teams. Come, play it hard like all teams do, but then find a way to push, because sometimes it is a mental barrier that they need to overcome. You know, when they take the flight at times, they get the feeling that, you know, this could be insurmountable at times. But I think New Zealand always comes with that belief that, you know, they can do something special. It just didn't happen in the ODIs. It was great to see the way they have come back in the T20s.
Yeah, you know, it's only recently India lost 1 game here and there against Pakistan, but everyone would build up India-Pakistan. India never lost to Pakistan.
Yeah.
India had some play 13-1-13 kind of record against Pakistan. The team that you needed to be very off was actually these guys. The number of times India have lost to these guys, much more than the number of times India have lost to Pakistan in big games.
Yeah, they just keep making the semi-final. Like you go to the World Cup, you see semi, sometimes finals.
And now you're in a decider.
Yeah.
And even though India has got an outstanding record at home, in deciders, in 3-game series where it's 1-1, India have got an excellent record in the decider. But who are you up against? It's the guys who always trouble you, the quiet guys. You know, it's like playing dog in the bone. You're waiting. Suddenly they take the hanky and run.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Dog in the bone.
I've
not heard of that game in years.
But at least you know of it, no?
I do know it.
Good. That means I'm not 142 years old.
It's amazing. Have you ever played Dog in the Bone?
Dog in the boat? No.
Yeah.
No.
We have to play it after this. We're going to play Dog in the Bone.
We'll play in the studio.
We'll probably pull it up on social media. You have a look at that after that. But yes, so here's the thing, right? It's the age-old saying, which is well begun is half done. But India is having that trouble with their batting. India, of course, batting first today. But the opening combination, well, there's a bit of a drought at the top. And that is obviously affecting all the players come below. We have, you know, somebody who's batted in the middle order who will tell you that it's amazing when your opening batters can put up a good partnership, when they can really juice that power play. It just makes it easier for everybody who's coming after.
Absolutely. I think in this format especially, if your openers get going, more often than not, you'll get a big score. You see any team which has had success, their openers, one of them would have definitely had a fabulous tournament. And, you know, we keep talking about it. Quantum of runs, openers. You want a great start consistently, one of the openers need to fire. It helps if you have a good number 3, but if one of your openers fire, more often than not, that team is always doing well. But what is interesting about this Indian team is even though the openers haven't done well, they're still doing well.
Exactly.
That's the beauty.
And that's
the
what makes
other
you think.
interesting thing is you've got 6 openers to choose from.
Yep, true.
But whoever you pick, you're still not getting the starts.
Yeah.
But it would be unfair to make the change for this one because you cannot make a change on the basis of what happened in Lucknow.
Fair.
That would be unfair to drop a batter because of what happened in.
Fair enough, but if you see, I mean, we showed the last 5 T20Is, right? So there's no partnership there. There's no runs that are coming over there, and both Ishan and Shubman are better than this. I mean, you're looking at Shubman. I mean, both these boys have got a double 100 in ODI cricket within the last few months, right?
Ishan is the interesting one. You think Ishan is just made to play T20 cricket with his game, but his form fluctuates way too much.
Yeah.
I mean,
what happens sometimes?
He's such a lovely kid. You know how much he wants to be there. But even in the IPL, his form just goes up and down. What is it about consistency? Why do some people have it and some don't? Is it work ethic? Is it just that he's plays a high risk game? Is there something else about his game?
Harsha, I think, you know, to answer that question, Ishan is obviously somebody who's done very well in bits and sometimes failed as well, and that you have to put it down to technical. I think it has to be a technical glitch because that is when you sometimes don't score runs, you struggle to get off to starts and you find it hard to get those initial starts. He has at his stance, at the point of release, he's much lower than a lot of people. So, a lot of things will be slightly tougher for him. Some things will be easier, like playing spin. But overall, if you do look at it, he is somebody who is willing to take high risks. I think over a period of time, he's shown that he's a terrific player of spin and he fits the team well. I think a left-handed opener is what we're looking for and he fits the team well. Even when he came, he's a very decent player of fast bowling. Abroad, when the ball swings, that is something that's always going to be challenging with his technique. But in subcontinent conditions, he's definitely going to be somebody who can get you runs consistently. I think high risk game is an absolute given, isn't it, in T20? You mean nobody plays a low risk game in power play and gets away. I think you have to. And it's looked down upon these days. If you play low risk cricket in the first 6 overs, you want to take chances, you want to create opportunities to score boundaries. And with that comes the fact that you will get out. But then the days you get in, you need to make it big. And I think a couple of times he has got that chance and he has done well, but that's when he hasn't been able
Those
to
couple
push
of
on.
30s that he got.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I think if he had pushed on, he would look a different player and that will give you the confidence to move on further.
But again, on the other side, there's Shubman Gill, right? So Shubman Gill, you've played with Shubman Gill in IPL. He had a really good season with Gujarat, but his kind of role there was a little different. Now, these are his last 5 T20Is. Yeah. I think what stands out there, though, is there's a few dismissals there, DK, which he will look at himself and he's saying, all right, I that was soft. Right? He'll look at it where you go, fine. I mean, it's okay if you don't get the runs, you can't pierce the field, but don't give the wicket away softly, right?
There's a fine line between playing instinctively and having a game plan that you stick to. I think last game was a great example was that. I think he's coming off a lot of confidence because he's got runs, but the first T20 he got out playing a pull shot.
Yeah.
The second T20, similar wicket, again plays a pull shot and gets out in the deep.
Yeah.
So that tells me that he's batting instinctively, which is good. But sometimes when you see a wicket, you don't have a massive score to chase. You're just scoring 100. You have to be able to stop yourself from playing certain shots. And that is a skill by itself.
Yeah.
Great players find a way to do that. If, obviously we keep speaking a lot, like if you take Tendulkar, didn't cover drive in Sydney. It's not like he didn't know how to cover drive. He knows. But on certain days, you give up on certain things just for the end result to be slightly better than what your process needs to be every time. I think that is where Shubman Gill needs to probably work on that a little bit. That comes with experience, but he's somebody who's used to getting a ton of runs. He is batting sometimes on tougher pitches, like he would bat on flat wickets.
Yeah.
See the ball short of line, let me go for a pull shot. That is okay if the wicket is good, but on wickets which are obviously completely conducive to a certain type of bowler, you have to be able to restrict yourself, subdue your ego and say, maybe on this day I can't play this shot for this bowler. And that comes with planning.
Yeah.
It's a slow wicket. You just can't go for the pull as soon as you see the short ball. I think you need to be able to work it, towards deep square leg. Wait your turn because when the ball gets slightly softer, you can play those shots. Or if you see a fast bowler, take him on. That is where I think he is just missed a trick. But he's very clever. His dad is somebody who pushes him to not give it easily ever. So he knows more than the pressure of wanting to be in the Indian team. His dad would have told him that those are not shots that you can get out to at this level. And that is more pressure for him because I know that he has a relationship with his dad where they're constantly pushing each other to achieve greatness.
But talking about subdued, it's quite interesting, right? Because talking about subdued and adapting and almost like controlling your ego and saying, wait, I have to change the way I'm playing. Hardik Pandya is the case, right? There he was batting at number 4, sometimes number 3 for his IPL team. And then, of course, there is this Hardik that we're seeing who is showing a remarkable amount of maturity, which Hardik does India need.
The Hardik of Mumbai Indians in 2019, 2020, where they were setting records for number of sixes. If it's not Kieron Pollard, it's Hardik Pandya. If it's not Hardik Pandya, it's Kieron Pollard. They were playing similar kind of innings. That Hardik Pandya has almost morphed into a lookalike. Like in Hindi picture, mein brother, lookalike twin used to come.
Robert and Albert from Amar Akbar Anthony.
Jo bhi ho. Now suddenly I think he's saying, I'm this responsible guy.
Yeah.
And I will play this tough role, which is fine. And he's playing it really well. I only hope that sometimes it's like how the off-spinner bowls a dusra and loses the off-break. I hope he doesn't lose that extraordinary instinct that he had to hit the ball. For example, that shot he hits to mid-wicket. Very few can hit that shot. Or the ability to hit sixes of good balls that he had. I hope he doesn't lose that in becoming this more rounded, different kind of player. Because in a full strength side, he'll probably bat 6 someday, or maybe 6 someday. He still has to be able to hit 31 of 12, 13 balls.
I mean, listen, it's looking like India's not playing a T20I now for a while, but it's looking more and more, and you can't think so far ahead, but now every 2 years there is a T20 World Cup. It's looking more and more that he seems to be the guy they're looking at to captain 2024, the World Cup, right? Which means that he will be more the leader than not. And to Harsha's point is that you shouldn't become so much of the elder statesman that you lose the inner child inside you.
Look, he knows him very well. So
yes, for me, Hardik is the most improved cricketer in white ball cricket, and that is only because of one thing. his ability to blend and adapt to the situation is where he has improved phenomenally. I mean, we're talking about a guy who can bat, just like he said, take the bowling on and score at 170, 180 strike rate. He's done that. Play a rather subdued inning if need be, like the last game, or to an extent how he played for Gujarat Titans. I don't think he'll lose that ability to completely hit sixes either, because we saw when push comes to shove, he showed that in the semi-final against England when he took on the bowlers in slightly alien conditions in Australia and did really well there. That is there in him naturally, but his ability to understand the situation and adapt, and I think that has been the phenomenal aspect of him. I think he's learnt a lot of that with the time he spent with the master MS Dhoni. I think that is something that he is really working on as well. You can see as a leader, he's very affable. People love him. They go to him. Whatever issues that the young guys have, he is probably the go-to man, because he has that kind of personality where he attracts all of that. And that's why he is the leader what he is today, because off the field, I think people gravitate to him. But he also, you can see that in his batting as well. I think you can see that he's able to adapt to situations and play beautifully. Like in the Asia Cup against Pakistan, the knock that he played in the first game to beat Pakistan, I thought that was a terrific knock. A couple of boundaries that he hit of Haris Rauf, of somebody bowling 150 on a wicket that is skidding to front of deep mid wicket, are phenomenal. I don't think anybody,
that 19th over,
not many people can actually play that shot. You need terrific hand speed. So he has that in him, but he's also molding himself into a player where, if need be, he can come take his time and play the situation. But what I would like him to do in T20 is bat at 6 and 7, because I think the explosiveness that he brings to the back end of the game is unmatched in India right now.
I think we're just saying it as greedy fans, right? Because as greedy fans, we love watching Hardik play a 180, 200 strike rate kind of inning, hit a few big sixes.
Also, when Pollard is hitting, aisa lagta hai that Pollard is holding you like this and punching you like this. Whereas Hardik, he'll hit one over there, a bit like Surya, but he'll hit one over there, and suddenly your jaw will drop saying, how did he hit that shot?
Yeah, true.
Now, he mentioned that over the shots hit of Haris Rauf in that 90th, and they were jaw-dropping. He has that ability, because if he is coming in, you should think, oops, no target is safe.
Yeah, true. Maybe that happens today, because India is batting first. Hardik won the toss, decided to bat first in Ahmedabad. We're hoping that this pitch compensates for the lack of runs of the previous two. I'm thinking that the curator here has probably looked at the pitch and said, "Aaj to 300 ki banaunga beta. Mere ko istifa nahi dena padega." So it could happen. Let's have a look at the teams again. There's one change for each team. India has made one change. Umran Malik comes in for Yuzi Chahal. So they've gone for pace over spin there. And of course, the batting is great. It's up till number 7, and everyone till number 7 is very proficient. Shivam Mavi can hit a few big shots as well. I don't think it'll come till there. But the New Zealand team, there you go. There's the one change. The match is happening in Gujarat, so they had to play someone called Ben. Ben Lister is playing today, and he comes in for Jacob Duffy. And that's the rest of the team. All right, they're going to be bowling first, which is exactly what Mitchell Santner wanted to do. So everybody happy. But it's time for now only some of you to be happy, because that's what happens when the joy factor question comes. Some smile and some start weeping. Let's see what will happen today. The cricketer made his ODI debut in a match which lasted less than an over. His test debut was alongside a fielding grade. Who is the cricketer? So I'm saying the fielding grade is either Jonty Rhodes or Gus Logie. Those are my guesses. Unless you think it's Eknath Solkar. We're not going that far back.
But why looking at me and thinking for everything I will go that far back?
Oh,
I might say Suresh Raina.
One second.
Fielder?
No, sir, I have just decoded something cryptic. First of all, everybody here at Cricbuzz Live, we want to wish happy birthday to our big brother, traveller man, Ajay Jadeja. So, of course, we want to wish him happy birthday. And, Joy likes to keep his questions contextual. # just saying. I don't know, man. Just saying. Just saying. Think about it that way.
Ajay Jadeja's birthday today.
It is?
Perpetually young.
That's right. He is. Happy birthday, big brother. We're waiting for you here. Cake, food, lungi dance. Come on. We're waiting for you. Come join us soon. But give us your answers. # Cricbuzz Live on Twitter. Titar pe kholo. Answer do. You can guess as many times as you want. This contest is free. Except, of course, if you want the answer from Joy, that's not free. If you have his number, you can use UPI and buy the answer from him. Meanwhile, another contest that is hotly contested over here is the score guess. Ahmedabad, India batting first. Who'll go? Sir, it is your hometown, so why don't you tell us?
Mera hometown.
Sir, because you
Kuch bhi.
studied over there, no?
For
That's why.
2 years.
Sir, 2 years, but I mean, 2 years
Two
in.
golden years, Harsha.
Sir, 2 years in. I
didn't
mean, Hardik
realize
is
that.
captain for 1 year. You played there for
Didn't
2
seem
years.
very gold in the first year. it seemed very copper.
He went to, Dicky, you know, right? He went to a small college in Ahmedabad for
ठीक है, वो
his
छोड़ो.
MBA. Small college.
189.
IIM.
Yes, that's right.
189. 189.
189. Nice. You? Go on.
181.
I don't know if we didn't get a
Vivrit's
close
score.
of that. Actually, I think it was like, I thought you were going to get a
Vivrit's
Brahmastra
score.
out.
189 and 181.
Both are Vivrit's scores.
What?
189 181.
Yeah, correct. 189, 181.
You go for 173. That's also a Richard score.
173. Okay. He's got a score everywhere around that area. Maybe.
Why don't I go?
Higher? They're being greedy.
Oh, yes, I am. प्यार किया तो डरना क्या? हाँ, बेटा घबरा. आपको डरने का नहीं है, आपको करने का है. 191 is what I'm saying. Oh, you said 189, so I can't say 191. You said 189, so then I'll come down. 173.
like
What DK is saying. I'm listening to
It's
DK.
like saying, as Sherry would say, the mountains thundered and a mouse emerged.
Yeah.
You thundered and a
Oh,
mouse
the bahar
emerged.
nikla. I wanted to go to
Thunder,
200.
you went 2 above and now you're going 8 below.
I wanted to go to 200 actually.
Go now. Who's stopping you?
Who's stopping me? That's
show,
right.
You're in here. India is anyway winning. How does it matter?
That's right. Done. I'm here. India's winning. 200 is the score that India's going to get in Ahmedabad. ठीक है भाइयों सब? Everybody okay? 200? That's a good guess. Everybody's happy with 200. Sir, कुछ इडली उडली खाए?
वैसे भी world is battling inflation, so कर दो ना.
Yeah, that's true actually. Let's go. We've got idlis because there's too much inflation, so we eat humble food. So we are going to, with great humility, tell you that we will meet you at the end of the 10th over with Cricbuzz Combox. A big thank you to Dinesh Karthik and Harsha Bhogle. Myself, my name Gaurav Kapur. See you later on Cricbuzz Live. Reading, writing.